The market was closing. The big lights on the slave auction stage were turning off one by one. Traders packed their bags, counted credits, and laughed about the easy sales. Cages, once full of alien prisoners, now stood empty, every single one, except for one, at the far end of the row, in the shadow of a torn canopy, sat the last cage. Inside it, a small alien girl sat quietly, her knees pulled close to her chest. Her skin was a pale blue, covered in bruises and dirt. Her clothes were torn, and her silver hair was messy and full of dust. Her eyes were strange, glowing softly like two little stars. She looked about 10 human years old, maybe younger. The girl didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't beg. She simply held a tiny broken toy in her hands. Soft, plush creature with one eye missing. A trader walked by and scoffed. "Still here? Huh? Thought someone might buy you just 4 parts." Others laughed as they passed, calling her useless, broken, or too small to work. The girl said nothing, just held the toy tighter. The auctioneer, a fat, 4-armed alien named Grass, stood on the stage and shouted, "That's it, folks. Market's closed. Good profit to all." He looked at the last cage and rolled his eyes. "Guess I'll just toss her back in storage." He reached for the controls, ready to lock the cage and turn off the lights. But then, a voice spoke from the back, low and calm. "I'll take her." Everyone turned. A tall human man stood at the edge of the stage, his face hidden under a dark hood. Graz squinted. "What? You want that one?" The human didn't move, didn't speak again. He just pointed at the cage. Graz laughed. "She's damaged goods. Can't even walk right. Doesn't speak. Probably dumb." Still, the human said nothing. Instead, he pulled out a small black coin and held it up. Graz's eyes widened. Where did you get that?" The coin shimmered strangely, showing marks from a forgotten human faction, one known to be dangerous and rich. "Is it enough?" the man asked, his voice calm but cold. Graz swallowed hard. "Why, yes, of course, she's yours." He rushed. Ova opened the cage and backed away quickly. The girl didn't move, even as the door swung open. The human knelt beside her, holding out a hand. She stared at it for a moment, unsure. No one had offered her a hand before. She slowly reached out, her fingers trembling, and placed her small hand in his. He gently lifted her into his arms. Wrapping her in a soft black coat, she smelled the fabric it was warm, clean, and safe. As he turned to leave, whispers followed him through the crowd. Why would he buy her? Maybe he's from one of those human labs. Humans are weird. Man can't trust them. But the man didn't care. He walked quietly through the exit gate, holding the girl close. Outside, his ship stood waiting, not flashy or new, but strong and clean. The ramp lowered, and he stepped inside. Carrying her past blinking lights and humming engines, the ship's AI voice greeted him. "Welcome back, Captain." He didn't reply. Just walked to a small room and laid the girl on a soft bed. She looked around, confused, expecting chains or commands, but none came. The man brought her water and warm food, placing them beside her. He didn't speak much, just said, "Rest. You're safe now." She stared at him for a long time, her small hand still holding the broken toy. Then, as he turned to leave the room, she finally whispered her first word. "Why?" He paused at the door, turned his head slightly, and said, "Just one thing. No one should be left alone in a cage." Then he left her to rest for the first time in years. Kara slept without fear. The stars outside the ship moved slowly past the windows, and the cage behind her was now just a memory. Kara opened her eyes slowly. Soft lights glowed on the ceiling, and gentle hums filled the air. The bed beneath her was warm, softer than anything she had ever felt. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming, but the coat still covered her, and her broken toy was still in her hand. She She sat up carefully, looking around. The room was small but clean, with white walls and shelves filled with books, tools, and strange human objects. A screen blinked quietly in one corner, showing a map of stars moving across space. The man from the market was not there. Kara climbed off the bed slowly, her feet touching the soft metal floor. Her legs felt weak. But they didn't hurt as much now. A soft robotic voice came from above. "Good morning, guest." Kara flinched, backing into the wall. "It's okay," the voice continued. "You are safe." The door to the room opened slowly, and the human stepped inside. He had removed his hood, revealing a rough face with tired eyes and a short beard. His skin was pale, and a long scar crossed his left cheek. Kara looked at him, unsure if she should run or stay. He didn't move closer, just placed a tray of food on the small table. Bread, fruit, something warm in a cup. "You don't have to." "Eat if you're not ready," he said, sitting on a chair near the door. Kara stared at the food, her stomach aching. She walked slowly to the table and sat down. Never taking her eyes off him, he didn't speak again. Just watched her quietly as she began to eat. For the first time in many days, Kara ate without being rushed. Slapped or yelled at after a few bites, she whispered, "What's your name?" The man looked at her for a moment, then said, "You can call me Jace." Kara nodded slowly. "Why did you take me?" Jace looked away, his voice soft, because no one else would. She didn't understand, but she didn't ask more. After the meal, Jace stood and said, "Come with me." Kara followed him through the narrow halls of the ship, passing blinking lights and closed doors. They reached a large window, showing space outside a sea of stars and glowing planets. Kara gasped, pressing her small hands against the glass. She had never seen it like this before. Jace smiled a little. "Pretty, isn't it?" She nodded, her eyes wide with wonder. He sat down near the window and said, "Where are you from?" Kara was quiet for a long time, then said, "The planet was called Avalon, I think." Before the fire came, Jace didn't ask what the fire meant. He could see the pain in her eyes. She looked at him again, more curious now. "Where are you from?" "Earth," he answered. "Long way from here. Why are you alone?" she asked. Jace looked out the window, his eyes distant. "I had a family once," he said. "But that was a long time ago." Kara looked down at her toy, holding it tightly. She didn't ask more, and he didn't explain. Later, Kara explored the ship. Always careful, always quiet. There was a kitchen, a small engine room, and a hallway lined with old photos and medals. One photo caught her. Aja girl with silver hair like hers. Standing beside Jace, both smiling, Kara touched the glass frame gently. Her heart heavy. That night, Jace gave her a blanket and turned off the lights in her room as he was about to leave. Kara asked, "Did you lose her?" Jace stopped at the door, not turning around. "Yes," he said, his voice nearly a whisper. "They took her." Kara said nothing, but for the first time, she understood something about him. He wasn't just kind. He was broken too that night. She dreamed of her parents, her planet, and of the fire that came from the sky. But the dream ended not with pain, but with Jace's voice saying, "You're safe now." Days passed slowly aboard the ship. Kara started to feel different. Not just in her body, but in her heart. For the first time in years, she didn't wake up afraid. She didn't eat in silence anymore. She sat at the table with Jace, shared small smiles, and even laughed once. Her wounds were healing, both the ones on her skin and the ones no one could see. She began to speak more, asking questions like a curious child. What does this button do? Why do humans eat so much bread? Do the stars move, or do we move? Jace always answered patiently, sometimes with a small smile, sometimes with a sad look in his eyes. Kara noticed that he never smiled fully, as if part of him was missing. Just like her, One morning, she walked into the control room and found Jace sitting in his chair, staring at a small screen. He didn't hear her come in. The screen showed a photo again of the silver-haired girl and Jace. Standing under Earth's blue sky, Kara stepped back quietly, not wanting to disturb him. Later, when he noticed her near the door, he turned the screen off without a word. She said nothing, but she remembered the name written under the photo. Lyra. That night, she sat in her room. Holding her broken toy clothes, she whispered, "Lyra." I wondered what happened to her. The next day, Jace gave her a small device, like a flat stone that glowed when touched. "It's for learning," he said. "Language, stars, history." Kara took it carefully, unsure at first. But soon, she spent hours reading stories, learning about planets, humans, and even Earth animals like dogs and cats. She giggled when she saw a picture of a raccoon and asked, "Is this real?" Jace chuckled. "Too real." Each day, Kara grew stronger. Her steps became steady, her voice clearer, her mind sharper, but deep inside, she still carried a fire question that she couldn't ignore. One evening, as the ship floated near a quiet moon, Kara finally asked him, "Why me?" Jace looked at her, surprised. "I mean, why did you choose me?" "You could have picked anyone," she said softly. Jace didn't speak right away. He stood, walked to the window, and looked at the stars. Then he said, "Because when I saw you in that cage, I saw someone who had given up, but still held on." Kara frowned. "What do you mean?" "You held that broken toy like it was the most important thing in the galaxy," he said. "And I knew someone once who held on the same way." He looked at her gently. "Sometimes, when you lose everything, you just need someone to remind you you're still alive." Kara's eyes stung, but she didn't cry. Instead, she walked over and sat beside him. "I miss my family," she whispered. "I know," Jace said. "I miss mine too." That night, Kara couldn't sleep. She got out of bed and walked through the ship's halls again, her feet light on the cold floor. There was one door she had never opened. It was locked every time she tried, but tonight it was slightly open. Just a crack. She pushed it slowly, and the room lit up gently. Inside were shelves filled with human items, old clothes, books, drawings, and toys. In the center of the room sat a music box, silent and dusty. Kara walked toward it and turned the small handle. A soft tune played, sweet and sad. She turned to the wall and saw more pictures, photos of Lyra growing up, smiling, laughing, holding hands with Jace. In one picture, Lyra held the same plush toy Kara now kept with her. She gasped and looked down at her hands. It was the same one, the same smile stitched on its face. Jace had given her Lyra's toy. Behind her, Jace stood quietly, watching. "I thought it was gone," he said, voice low. Kara turned slowly. She had this too. Jace nodded, stepping into the room. She loved it, carried it everywhere. Kara held it even tighter, not out of fear, but out of something else, something warm. "I didn't mean to come in," she said, her voice shaking. "It's okay," Jace replied. Maybe it's time someone else remembered her too." They sat in silence for a while, the music box still playing its soft tune. Then Kara said, "You didn't just save me, did you?" Jace looked at her. "No," he said quietly. "You saved me too." Kara sat near the front window of the ship, watching stars move slowly past. She had started drawing again, sketching little things from her memory. A tree from Avalon, her mother's eyes, and the symbol that was burned into her village walls. That symbol haunted Hertha, twisted red claw of the slavers who took her. Sometimes she still dreamed of the night they came. Fire from the sky, loud voices, screams, and her mother's hand slipping away. Jace never asked about the dreams, but he knew. One day, while Kara was studying star maps in the learning room, the ship's alarm beeped softly. Unregistered ship. "Detected," said the AI calmly, approaching at slow speed. Jace stood up quickly and checked the radar. A small dark ship was following them, no signal. No flag, just shadows. Kara entered the room and felt a chill in her chest. "That... Mark?" she whispered, eyes wide in fear. Jace looked at her. "You recognize it?" Kara nodded, her voice shaking. "They're the ones. They came for my people. They killed my father." Jace's hands tightened on the console. He had seen many ships in his life, but this one felt wrong, too quiet, too close. The enemy ship made no attempt to contact them. It just followed, waiting, watching. "We can run, right?" Kara asked, trying to sound brave. Jace shook his head. "Not for long. They're faster." "Then leave me," she said suddenly. "They're after me, not you." Jace turned to her, eyes sharp. "I didn't pull you out of that cage, just to give you back." Kara looked down, her small hands clenched into fists. "But if they catch us, they won't," he said firmly. "Not without a fight." They moved to prepare the ship, though it was old and not made for battle. Jace powered up shields, checked weapons, and moved into the pilot's chair. Kara sat beside him, her heart pounding. I know something that might help," she said, voice soft. Jace glanced at her. "What is it?" Kara closed her eyes and remembered her father had once worked in defense tech. He showed her how enemy ships used energy pulses that could be interrupted using sharp turns through solar radiation. She pointed at a nearby solar belt in the map. "If we fly through there, we might disrupt their tracking." Jace raised an eyebrow. "Impressed? You sure?" Kara nodded. "They won't follow through it, not safely." He changed course immediately, steering toward the belt of golden dust and burning light. The enemy ship followed for a moment, then slowed down. "They're hesitating," Jace muttered. "Good call," but just as they thought they were safe, the enemy ship launched a tracking beacon, locking onto their signal. The ship shook slightly, systems flashing. "They tagged us," the AI announced. "Signal locked." Kara stood up quickly. "I know where it is. I can disable it." Jace pointed to the lower hall panel. "Go. I'll cover you." Kara ran down the hallway, passing storage rooms and cargo crates. She reached the panel, opened it, and saw the small, blinking device stuck under the hull shield. Her hands shook, but she remembered what her father had taught her. Red wire, then green, twist and pull. She worked fast, sweat on her forehead. The lights flickering as the ship entered the solar belt. The moment she pulled the last wire, the beacon blinked once and died. "Beacon destroyed," the AI said. Tracking lost. Kara let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Jace's voice came through the speaker. "You did it, Kara?" She smiled weakly and replied, "Told you I'm not just a kid." The ship floated through golden light. Quiet now, but not safe yet. The enemy ship stayed behind the belt. Still watching, still waiting. Later that night, Kara sat by the engine room, thinking. Jace walked in and sat beside her, handing her a warm drink. "You saved us," he said simply. She looked at him. "You saved me first." Jace chuckled. "We're even now." She sipped the drink, her hands still a little shaky. Then she asked, "Will they keep coming?" Jace nodded slowly. "Maybe. But we'll be ready next time." Kara didn't feel like a slave anymore. Or a lost child. She felt like part of something. A team, a family, a fight worth fighting. The stars outside burned brighter, as if watching them closely, and far behind, the enemy ship turned away. For now, but war was coming, and both of them knew it. The ship drifted through empty space, quiet again, but silence didn't mean peace. Jace checked the ship's systems every hour, shield strength, fuel level, weapon power. Kara stayed close, watching and learning. Her hands no longer shook. When touching controls, she wasn't just a passenger now. She was crew, but deep inside. Both of them knew the peace wouldn't last. The enemy had seen them, tracked them, hunted them, and they would come again. Stronger, Jace sat in the captain's chair, looking over old files on Earth's defense systems. The ship, named the Quiet Flame, wasn't built for war. It was an old traveler class, good for scouting and escape-not battles. Still, it had one secret, one thing left from Earth's forgotten days, a core buried deep inside the ship, sealed by old command codes. Jace had never touched it before, but now he was thinking about it. Kara entered the room, carrying 2 mugs of warm broth. "You haven't eaten," she said softly. Jace smiled. "You sound like a captain now." She placed the mug beside him and looked at the screen. "Are you going to open the sealed chamber?" she asked. Jace looked at her, surprised. "How do you know about that?" Kara shrugged. "I read the ship's map, and I listened." Jace nodded. Impressed again. "It's dangerous," he said. "If I open it, this ship will become something else." Kara stared at the screen. "Maybe that's what we need." Before Jace could respond, the alarm rang. Enemy ship approaching, distance 30,000 clicks. The AI warned. They rushed to the controls. Systems blinking red. The enemy wasn't hiding this time. Their ship was larger, stronger, and fully armed. "They're locking weapons," Jace said, fingers moving fast. "Shields up," Kara replied. "Engines hot." The first blast hit the side of the Quiet Flame, shaking everything. Kara was thrown against the wall, but stood up quickly, firing back. Jace said, pressing the launch button. The ship's small cannons shot back bright flashes, flying toward the enemy. But it wasn't enough. Another blast came, stronger, breaking through part of the outer shield. "They're too strong," Kara said, fear rising in her voice. Jace turned to her, his eyes calm but serious. "Go to the core room." Kara blinked. Now, he said firmly. "I'll unlock it from here. You'll have to activate it." Kara ran, her heart pounding. The ship shook again, lights flickering, sparks flying from the walls. She reached the sealed door. It was open now, just as Jay said. Inside was a long cylinder covered in old Earth's military symbols. The core, once part of a deep defense system. Lost in time, she stepped closer, her fingers hovering over the activation panel. The screen blinked. Warning, Earth class. Omega pulse use only in final defense. Kara pressed her hand to the scanner. The panel glowed, asking, "Authorized." She whispered, "Jace sent me." The scanner paused, then clicked open. A deep hum filled the room as power surged through the ship. Jace saw the change instantly. Shields jumped to 150%. Weapons doubled in strength. The lights turned red across. The ship battle mode, Earth style, target locked, the AI said. Firing Earth-class pulse in 10 seconds. The enemy ship started backing away. But it was too late. A bright beam of energy blasted forward, slicing through space like a burning sword. It hit the enemy ship directly in the core. A massive explosion followed. Light filled the stars, and then silence. The enemy ship was gone. Kara sat beside the core, breathing fast, her body shaking from the power she had touched. Jace's voice came through the speaker. "You did it," she smiled. Weak but proud. "We did it." Later, they met again in the control room, both tired, both quiet. "Where did this weapon come from?" Kara asked. Jace sat down slowly. "Earth built it long ago, when the galaxy feared humans. And for good reason." Kara looked out the window. "Where the explosion had once burned. Do you think they'll send more?" she asked. Jace nodded. "Yes, but now they'll think twice." Kara leaned back in her chair, her eyes half closed. "We're not running anymore, are we?" Jace looked at her and said, "No. Now we stand." The stars outside were quiet. Again, but inside the ship, something had changed. A girl who had once been a slave was now a fighter, and a man who had once lost everything. Had something to protect again. The ship floated in silence. The stars blinked gently outside, as if watching, inside. Kara sat by the window with a warm blanket wrapped around her shoulders. Her drawing pad rested on her lap, filled with sketches, some of stars, some of people, and one of a girl holding a broken toy. That girl didn't look afraid anymore. She looked strong. Jace entered the room quietly, carrying a warm cup of tea. He placed it beside her without saying a word, then sat down across from her for a few minutes. They didn't speak, just listened to the quiet hum of the ship. Kara finally broke the silence. "Do you miss her every day?" Jace nodded slowly, his eyes heavy with old pain. "Some days more than others," he replied. "But yes, every day, Lyra." Kara said softly, "She looks like me in the pictures." Jace glanced at her. "You noticed?" Kara looked down. "Was that why you chose me?" Jace didn't answer right away. He leaned back, looked out at the stars, and said, "At first, maybe." Kara looked up, confused. "At the auction," he continued, "I saw your hair, your size, your eyes. And for a moment, I thought maybe she had survived somehow." Kara stayed quiet. "But then I looked closer," Jace said, "and I saw you, not her, not a copy, just you. Scared, alone, holding on to hope." Kara's eyes stung, but she blinked away the tears. "I'm not her," she said softly. "No," Jace replied, "and that's a good thing." He smiled gently. "Because you're Kara." She looked at him, unsure what to say. "I thought saving you would help me feel whole again," Jace added. "But I didn't expect you'd become family." Kara lowered her head, trying to hide her trembling smile. "I never had a home," she whispered. "Not really. But with you, I feel like maybe I do now." Jace reached out and placed a hand over hers. "You do," he said. "You always will." That night, the ship landed on a small green planet, one of Jace's old hideouts from years ago. It wasn't on any star map anymore, lost in the chaos of war and time. But it was quiet, safe, and beautiful. They walked together through the soft grass, the sky above them glowing with twin moons. Birds flew overhead, and strange trees swayed gently in the breeze. Kara looked around with wide eyes. "It's perfect," Jace nodded. "It's the first place Lyra ever smiled." They stopped near a large tree with thick branches and golden leaves. Beneath it sat an old wooden bench, carved with two names, Jace and Lyra. Kara touched the carving gently, then added a new name beside it. Jace didn't say anything, but his eyes were full of light. They stayed on the planet for a few days, planting small seeds near the tree, each one named after a memory. One for Kara's mother, one for her father, one for every child still trapped in cages across the galaxy, and one for Lyra, the girl who never got to grow up, but who still lived in their hearts as they prepared to leave. Kara looked back at the tree and whispered, "I'll come back one day." Jace smiled. "We both will." Back on the ship, something felt different, lighter, warmer, more alive. Kara wasn't just a passenger anymore, and Jace wasn't just a lost father. They were something new, a family formed not by blood, but by choice. Later that evening, Kara found something strange in the ship's storage room, a small, locked box hidden beneath the floor panel. She called Jace, and together they opened it. Inside were old data chips, records of missions, photos, and one item that made Jace stop cold. It was a message from Lyra, recorded years ago. Her voice came through the small speaker, young and bright. "Hi, Dad," the message said. "If you find this, I guess I'm gone." Jace's hands tightened. But he didn't stop the message. "I want you to know I'm not scared," Lyra continued. "You always taught me to be brave, and to help others who are alone." Kara sat beside Jace, holding his hand tightly. If you ever meet someone who needs saving, I hope you don't close your heart. The message ended. Love you, always. The speaker went silent, but the room stayed full of emotion. Kara whispered, "She wanted you to find me." Jace nodded slowly, tears in his eyes. Maybe she did. That night, Kara fell asleep, not just feeling safe, but feeling loved. And Jace sat quietly beside her room, holding the old toy that once belonged to Lyra, now carried by Kara, two lives connected by pain, healed by love, and moved forward by hope. The stars were quiet. The ship moved slowly across a peaceful path of space, dust, and light. Kara stood in the hallway, looking at her reflection in the glass. Her silver hair had grown longer, her bruises had healed. And there was something new in her eyes. Strength. Not the kind that comes from weapons or power, but the strength of someone who had survived pain and kept going. She touched the necklace around her neck, a gift from Jace. Inside, it was a tiny picture of three names: Lyra, Jace, and Kara. She smiled softly and walked toward the control room. Jace was already there, going over maps and messages. "Anything new?" she asked, sitting beside him. He nodded. "We've received a signal from a hidden planet in the Andari belt." Kara leaned forward, curious. What kind of signal? Jace turned the screen to her. It was a call for help from a group of alien children held in a slaver colony. Kara's chest tightened. "How many?" "About 40, Jace replied. "Most of them young." For a moment, Kara stayed silent. Then she stood and said, "Let's go." Jace smiled. "I thought you'd say that." They prepared the ship for travel. Fuel topped off, weapons checked, shields tested. But more than machines, they prepared their hearts. Because they both knew this mission wasn't just about saving others. It was about giving back what they had lost 2 days later. The quiet flame reached the outer rings of the Andar belt. The planet below was cold, dusty, and covered in black rock. No trees, no water, no sunlight, just darkness. Kara stared at it from the ship's window, her voice low. "That's what I remember." Jace placed a hand on her shoulder. "We won't leave them there." They landed the ship at night. Using old codes to sneak past the guards, Kara and Jace moved through the shadows, avoiding lights and cameras. Kara led the way. She remembered the layout, the traps, the doors that creaked. They reached a large metal building with cages stacked high. The sound of soft crying filled the air. Kara's hands shook as she opened the main lock, her fingers remembering every code, every scar. One by one, the doors opened. Tiny eyes stared back at her, scared, weak, unsure if this was another trick. "It's okay," she said gently. "You're going home now." Jace helped carry the smaller ones, wrapping them in blankets from his bag. Kara whispered to each one, "You're safe, you're free." Suddenly, a loud alarm blared. Guards came running from the far end, weapons drawn. Jace stepped in front of the children. "Weapon ready?" Kara turned to him. "There's a tunnel underground. I know the way." He nodded. "Go. I'll hold them off." Kara didn't argue. She led the children through a hidden path behind the cages. Crawling through broken pipes and vents, Jace fired warning shots. Covering their escape, outside the ship's AI activated the defensive cannons. As the guards closed in, Jace jumped aboard and shouted, "Lift off now." The ship soared into the sky, leaving smoke and fire behind. Inside, Kara sat with the children, hugging them tightly. One of the smallest looked up at her and asked, "Are you our mother now?" Kara smiled, tears in her eyes. "No. But I'm someone who chose you." Later, as the children slept safely, Jace and Kara stood near the window. Jace looked at her. "You were once in that cage." Kara nodded. "Now I'm opening them." He placed a hand on her shoulder. "You saved more than lives today. You gave them hope." Kara turned to him. "You did that for me first." They shared a quiet moment, surrounded by the soft breathing of rescued children. The ship had become more than a home. It was now a promise. A promise that no one would be left behind again weeks later. Kara stood before a group of alien leaders on a peaceful planet. She told her story not with anger, but with truth. "I was taken, sold, and forgotten," she said, her voice steady, "but someone chose me." Jay sat in the crowd, watching with pride. Kara raised her voice. "We were not bought. We were not owned. We are not weak." The hall stood silent, listening. "I carry pain," she said, "but I also carry hope." She held up the necklace, showing the 3 names. "This is my family. Not by blood, but by choice." The crowd rose in quiet applause, some with tears in their eyes. Kara had become a voice for the voiceless, a light in the dark. Later, when a reporter asked her, "What changed your life?" she answered with a smile. One human whispered, "I'll take her."